Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
I have met CAs, I've met MBAs, I've met graduates. There are some incredible people who are graduates and have done very, very well because of the right attitude. So a good sales guy, if he's a graduate, can do very, very well.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of CXO Central. When I talk to someone, some of these people, some of the CEOs that we've been speaking to, they have experiences worth 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. And that's crazy, right? And imagine if someone told you that you're going to be working for 30 years, what is the number of companies that you would imagine you would work for? I would imagine that today's millennial would work for about 10 companies at least if he's working for 30 years. But today we have a CEO who has had a 30-year long career after his CA, and he's worked for exactly 4 companies. First company he worked for, he spent 11 years there. The next company he spent 4 years, the company after that 7 years, the company after that he spent 9 years. And he's just started a journey now as an entrepreneur, and we're going to talk to him about all these companies that he's worked for. He's a chartered accountant who's worked in some of the best banking and financial institutions all over the world. uh, Mr. Asit Oberoi, thanks a lot for doing this with us.
Thank you, Kunj, for having me.
Okay, I'm going to take you back in time even before you entered all of these fancy banks. When is it and how is it that you decided that you wanted to do chartered accountancy as a professional course?
You know, it happened by coincidence almost. My brother was a chartered accountant, and I was always fascinated by CA as a course. I also thought that I want to work in a finance function, but the fact that my brother was a chartered accountant drove me. We all have a lot of respect and idolization for one's elder brother. So
Right.
my dad was also in finance, albeit in the railways. So he was the head of finance for the Western Railway. So there was a lot of finance in our blood, so to speak.
Right.
So that's what drove me. And it just happened. I discussed many career options. I loved food and I still do. And I wanted to also become, do hotel management, run a hotel, run a restaurant. Hopefully one day I will do that as well. But
You
those
have the right surname for it, Asit.
Yes, a lot of people think I'm related to the Oberois. Somebody asked me yesterday, and
Right.
I say, unfortunately, not.
When you underwent the entire CA course, what was your experience like?
My experience was very positive. I made some very strong relationships through the program. Um, with a lot of people who did their CA along with me. So we made a lot of good, strong relationships, and I'm in touch with many of those people.
Right.
Um, I thought some of the work articles do was a bit boring, to be very honest, because I'm a very straightforward, candid person. But I thought, you learned a lot about how a company runs, what role finance plays, how an audit is performed.
Right.
I learned some of that. Now, having said that, I was lucky because in CA, luck plays a very important role in many ways, as in most exams. I was very lucky. I passed my entered in my first attempt. I ranked in my final, and
What was your rank?
42nd, if I'm not mistaken.
42nd.
Such a long time back. But it all was driven, Kunj, by just focusing on the right things, and not and just having a bit of sleep before the exam, not being
Right.
deprived of sleep, so you're in your best form to perform. So it's a bit like a cricketer, right? If he CA people normally don't sleep the night, but I think if you were to play a cricket game, I love cricketing analogies, and you
Great.
don't sleep the previous night, then you're not going to perform well. So an exam is a performance. So you should be in your best state of mind. And you
Right.
should be confident. I think being confident is very, very important. So I would encourage youngsters watching this program, just confidence, be confident in yourself, be relaxed.
So, how many sleepless nights did Bank of America give you at the beginning of your career?
All through my career, I have had very few sleepless nights. I only have sleepless nights when I'm stressed.
Right.
I don't get stressed easily. And, but sometimes, honestly, we can't control stress. It takes over us. So I haven't had too many. I had very good memories of my career at Bank of America. I did multiple different things. I, joined in operations. I was, heading audit for the bank in India. I was looking after, I introduced a new philosophy called operations risk management. And I also was head of audit for India. And I looked after transaction banking operations from Delhi as well.
Right.
So within minutes of joining Bank of America, days of joining Bank of America, one of our senior colleagues, Harish Engineer, gave us a project. Harish, then went on to head corporate banking at HDFC Bank later on, very famous, figure in banking, one of the best corporate bankers. He gave us a project where we were all playing a role in distributing retail loans. For the first time, Bank of America went into retail loans, and he got us into this project, and we were a bunch of different people working on it. And I was doing, I had just joined. So I was doing relatively some of the mundane work, including, but those were days we had some degree of sleepless nights because we had to launch this very quickly for Asia. We went and introduced a philosophy called operations risk management. And this is like in 1985 or somewhere around that. Sorry, 1995 or somewhere around that. The philosophy was looking at what are the controls in processes? How do operating teams focus on those controls in the processes? And can we do away with the third control, internal audit? So and can we make the internal audit team very thin? So I had to present this philosophy in San Francisco with Bank of America as the first major presentation I did. And it also, we kept it somewhat like this conversation, very conversational. And those are the best conversations. I remember that meeting really went well, and we went on to implement this philosophy in Bank of America in Asia. So those were very, 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 very vivid memories of mine. The Americans were very open to it as a philosophy because, end of the day, a third control is because there's a maker checker in operations. And if you just focus on the right things, a bit similar to studying, right? For exams, focusing on the right things. If you focus on the right things, you actually do a very good job. And this brought about a lot of savings and improved operations controls. That same philosophy now is actually in place in most foreign and private banks today. But we were talking 1994, 95.
Was this also the time when you realized that, okay, although I am a CA, business development is something that is exciting, interesting, attractive for me? When did that streak in you develop?
When I was the financial controller at Standard Chartered, they made us do a Gallup survey. That Gallup survey, my top two strengths that came out were positivity and woo. That, honestly, if you do a survey of 1 million chartered accountants in India, maybe 5
Very
of them
few
will have that. It's my boss thought I was the most unique guy. So I'm great at settling issues, collaborating with teams, using my charm to get sales. That's the first time I thought I could do sales. But nobody was willing to take that risk on me. End of the day, then I went to, after Standard Chartered, I joined as a CFO of Fidelity's businesses in India, their asset management business, their private equity business, and their offshoring business. And subsequent to that, I joined Yes Bank as their chief operating officer. While I was the chief operating officer, also, I did something unique, which probably no CEO has ever done in India. I used to do potentially up to 30 client meetings in a month.
Wow.
Meeting clients, asking them, are they happy with our service? Do they like what they see? Is there something we can improve in our processes? How can we all partner to provide a better and superior service experience? I also implemented a team called Corporate Service Delivery in my career, early career in Yes Bank as a CEO. And that team was focused on client service experience with our corporate clients. Then they gave me cash management to head. And then subsequently, I became head of transaction banking, which is product role as well as a sales role.
Right.
I think sales comes naturally to some people, Kunj. And I think I'm a natural salesperson, even if at the risk of me saying so myself. Many people who have interacted with me say that is my best strength. I've onboarded several clients at Yes Bank. And many of them, I've played the principal role in onboarding, which is not something transaction banking always does. The relationship manager very often does that. I'm happiest when I'm doing 7 to 10 client meetings in a day. And I might ask somebody, can I do 1 or 2 more? Is there time? A lot of that is when I travel. In Bombay, sometimes it doesn't happen because I really enjoy connecting with clients.
The feeling in a lot of finance professional circles is that sales is somehow a lower job, or a less incentivized job, or even it's looked at. India also faces a dignity of labor issue around sales. So, what is your response to that?
I totally disagree with that. Forget for a moment, Kunj, we can't figure out why people think in a particular manner. But I'll tell you why business development and sales is very important.
Right.
As a CFO, I have 2 ways to drive revenue and EBIT or profitability for the bank or any organization. One is to just look at conserving cost and be good at that. And the other way is to drive revenue. I've always believed that as a CFO, I would give any amount of money to a sales guy. If he's going to and give him more people, I'll give him whatever resources he needs. I'll give him more technology spend. I'll give him whatever is needed to help him get more people so he can drive revenue. So sales is the engine of growth of companies. It will drive profitability. A lot of people, I always encourage CEOs when they actually to have a CEO who knows sales, because then he has to lead by example. So in my PBG role, I led by example. I would do more sales than anybody else in my organization, and would show an amazing appetite for sales. Because if a CEO drives sales and understands sales, then their organization is going to be sales oriented.
Asit, what does a person need to do to be good at sales? Like, what are some of the skills that you have to build for that?
So I think you need empathy. So if, for example, you have to have the ability to connect with individuals. And that connect very often is in the first 60 seconds.
Right.
Whoever you meet in the first 60 seconds will decide. Similarly, in interviews as well, in the first 60 seconds, the guy knows the impact he can make.
Right.
In the first 60 seconds, you realize that this is many people. I interviewed one of my best people, and I knew within 60 seconds she was the right person to work with me.
Right.
And similarly, when I'm pitching, in the first 60 seconds, that impact is very important. I would say even 2-3 minutes is even better. Then, you try and find common interesting topics to talk about. Is there some research that you have done on that guy, on that company? Can we have some common ground to talk about? I always try and bring in some common connects. So I research my meetings very thoroughly. I always I know my products well. I don't know them brilliantly, but I know them well. So I need to be, if it's a sales guy and he doesn't know a lot of salespeople don't know what they're selling.
Right.
They don't know the product. So they struggle big time. And the meeting is over within minutes, right? The business, it's ultimately the senior guy the client who's going to drive, is this meeting going to continue? Is it not going to continue? And you can also learn sales. You should have a desire to learn it. It's a little bit like some of it is natural, I must admit. A natural sales guy is best, but you can also learn it. You can learn these 4 or 5 things I've talked about, including preparing for meetings, including knowing action points of earlier meetings. Project management is very critical for sales. Project management, because you get the mandate. How you execute it is also a sales guy's responsibility, right? A lot of people win the mandate and then they forget about it. Execution is very critical in sales. So I think in CA Institute programs as well as MBA programs, they should be talking more and more about execution and how to work towards better quality execution as well.
What are some of the things that you feel that CAs are really good at, for example, and what are some of the things that you feel MBAs are really good at?
I have met CAs, I've met MBAs, I've met graduates. There are some incredible people who are graduates and have done very, very well because of the right attitude. So a good sales guy, if he's a graduate, can do very, very well as well. So
Right.
CAs typically are analytical, they are detail oriented, they're hardworking, they're good at finance, they're good at numbers. Things that MBAs are better at, they think big, they're good at presentations, they're good at networking typically, they're good at business development. You can't say a CA is better, you can't say an MBA is better.
Right.
It's very hard to figure that out. Both, it's the individual who's better, who
Right.
has better attitude, and it's just that MBAs are probably better risk takers, and they probably have a more rounded program. The CA program is more, numbers oriented, tax oriented,
Right.
audit
Right.
oriented, while MBA programs are more marketing oriented and other things. Business development orientation is
Right.
more. That's where you'll see lesser CAs going and doing business development roles,
Right.
because
This is the general perception that the MBA is a bit of a generalist degree and the CA is a little bit of a specialized degree. Uh, who does the future belong to, Asit? Does it belong to specialists or does it belong to generalists?
when you begin your career at an early stage, you should be a specialist. You
Hmm.
should focus on certain key things. You should learn to do 3-4 year stints in organizations. A lot of people leave within 1 year for money.
Right.
I think that's an absolute waste. You invest when you're 23, 24 till 35, you invest in building yourself. You do 4-5 roles to determine which one are you best suited at. One
Right.
of my regrets, and I don't regret very easily, is I wish I was a salesperson at an earlier stage in my career. I think I would have done much better, because salespeople would make better quality CEOs, to my mind. So do 3 or 4 strong roles. You could do finance roles, you could do audit roles, you could do compliance roles, you could do business development roles. Then you figure
Right.
out what are you best at, what is your passion in life. Suppose business development is your passion, then you move towards it by 30, 35 and
Right.
work towards it. And also today, the world is very rapidly changing. There is almost like, people call it Amazonization of the world is happening. So there is Fintech coming in.
Yes.
There are some very sharp, smart companies which I deeply admire, like Razorpay, which I know very personally very well, and very sharp companies. Google is there,
Right.
Facebook is there. Some of these places means that you have to change education a little to see how can you change the syllabus a little so people can understand a little bit about technology, a little bit about product. Can they
Right.
also understand finance? Because it's important that in anything you do, you make money also.
Right.
But ultimately, you have to be a generalist. If you want to, be a CEO, you have to run the company, right? If you aspire to be a CEO, you have to be a generalist. So you need to take some experience, maybe at 40 or whatever, 38, whatever you've done, some degree of specialization, then you have to move
Right.
towards understanding how to manage people.
Asit, I was thinking over a 30-year long career, you've seen the evolution of banking. From the time when people would call their banker for their kid's wedding to a time when you don't even know who your banker is anymore. What do you see as the implications of technology coming into banking in such a big way over the years? And how do you think it's going to make life easier? And how do you think it's going to make life complicated for people?
So I think BFSI in India has seen the maximum transformation possible. And RBI deserves a lion's share of the credit for that. We did RTGS early, we did NEFT early, we created the Payments and Settlements Act, which led to NPCI, which led to UPI,
Right.
NACH, AEPS, etc. APIs were a big thing for us as well. So in my career in Yes Bank, where we launched APIs for corporates in India, almost 2015 or somewhere around that time, many
Right.
years back, where other banks were not really talking about APIs. So we did refunds using API, which is simply banking out of the ERP. I won't get into great length on that. But some of that has moved to the next level. Intermediaries are using it. Neobanks are coming up. You can bank out of your ERP. So for example, Razorpay and Crazy Bee and some of them do loans out of that ERP.
Right.
They do collections and payments out of that. You can log into Tally and you can, do your collections payments out of it. So the world is very rapidly changing, and consumers and SMEs are lapping that up. They're
Right.
lapping it up. They have a wide range of options for themselves as well. The other thing also is that businesses can set up almost overnight. So you can set up websites quickly. You can give them payment gateways. Razorpay sets up, and Cash Free and some of these guys set up PGs like almost over the fly. Banking will never be the same again. Branches are going to reduce over time, and the age of partnerships between fintechs and banks, they can compete with each other. But I
Right.
think the key thing, if you ask me, Kunj, is why compete? Let's partner with each other. I'm a big believer in partnership. If good banks and good fintechs partner, anything is possible.
The startup that you are now heading the Asia Pacific region for Buckzy, is this the spirit that you're bringing into it? Is this the reason why you got out of banking and got into this kind of a quasi fintech kind of a setup?
Absolutely. I
Hmm.
also was a bit bored. I'd done banking for 30 years. And and through my career, I've done many different things.
Right.
I always like doing different things. I wanted to build a business. Buckzy is, very nascent as a company. It's about a year old. I've joined a little bit more. I've joined them very recently. I want to build that business in Asia with my very bunch of very smart people. The promoter is a great guy, bunch of smart people running it. I think I have a good connect with them at a very early stage.
Right.
And I just wanted to learn new skills and build a business together, almost from scratch. I haven't done that for a while. So a lot of people ask me that question, why have I joined Buckzy? And that's, the answer, that I want to build a business. I want to collaborate with fintechs. I want to collaborate with people, collaborate with the banks.
Asit, having seen a lot of talent coming through the ranks over the years, what are some of the things that you would change about the education that they are given currently in the top business schools, in the top even by ICAI or some of these other institutes as well? What are some of the things that you think need fixing, need a change?
So I think one is, if we could have more high quality MBA institutes in India, so people don't think only about going overseas. So can you get a Wharton into India, etc.? People, first choice of many bright students is to go overseas. Why
Right.
not? Why not educate in India as a mantra coming up as well? We hear of startup India, we hear of manufacture in India, etc., etc. Why not educate in India?
Right.
Why not get better quality MBA institutes in India? It's so hard for people to get into schools, to get into top colleges, to get into top MBA institutes. Can we make it a little easier? Can we have more supply of top quality
Right.
institutes? You can charge, because people pay an arm and a leg to go to the US to educate. Can we do that to start with? I think also in this MBA curriculum, can you actually have, some more projects that people get, real projects? When they go for internships, people just give them, they're just whiling time. Give them real projects, think it through. People in companies should be passionate about thinking it through, giving
Right.
real live projects which will test a guy so he knows what he should do going forward. Every quarter, I would do a project or an internship for 7 days or 15
Right.
days or whatever. So do that as much as possible. Give them real live things. CA, also, I would do the same thing. Can we do internships? Can we do presentations in CAs? Chartered accountant doesn't know how to do a presentation when he comes out.
Right.
Can we do projects? Can you do real live things in life? Can we also create, because it's the age of fintechs and it's the age of Amazons and Googles of the world. So can we create a curriculum that suits them, which could be all around fintechs, could be around products, could be around revenue, could be around financial services, etc.
People will not be able to guess that you are a chartered accountant because your education may be in chartered accountancy, but you've gone on to do things that people don't usually associate with CA. From that we learn that, you know, in the careers of the future, if you want to do well, you have to keep learning real time, keep upskilling yourself, etc. What are some of the other things that today's youth needs to do well in their future?
So I would say many things. First is, when you start your career, have a goal. Have a goal. First 100 days, what am I going to do in my job? How will I make an impact? Have a goal which is short term in nature. Have a goal that is long term in nature. Have a goal, medium term and then long term in nature. And then take steps to achieve those goals and be relentless in execution. I think that's really, really important. That's one thing I would advise every youngster, or even at any stage in your career.
Right.
Do a few roles and then determine what is your passion. What do you love doing? What do you love coming into work for? So if I had become a sales guy when I started my career, there would be a very different Asit Oberoi talking to you. I think I would have done so much better in my life. I've done reasonably well. I'm very happy with that.
Right.
And I'm a content person by nature. But I'm telling you, if you pick that passion early, then you just work towards that passion. If you have to take some risks, take a pay cut, doesn't matter. Figure your passion and figure out how you're going to achieve success in that passion. Also work on your spheres of influence. So I tell this to people, don't only work on your boss. Most people work on their boss and try and please their boss. You're working with your boss is important, but not the only thing. Sphere of influence is your boss, his boss, your peers, your internal customers, your external customers, could be your auditor, could be your clients. Continuously learn. Every day you have to learn something new.
Right.
It could be unrelated as a topic. Read, vociferously learn. I would say that every person you employ in you should have a learning plan for that individual, which is real. And mentoring is very important. Get a mentor if you can.
We in fact provide mentorship to students on our platform as well. We have hundreds of students coming in and getting one-on-one mentorship from people like you, senior people in the industry. Students would never get access to such senior people who are 15 years, 20 years, 30 years into the industry to guide them on important things that they are facing currently. Some of the things that you're saying right now are again very aligned to what we try to provide to the students also on a one-on-one basis. So thank you for mentioning these points, Asit. Asit, take us through what exactly Buckzy does.
Buckzy is building or built and constantly evolving a cross-border settlement network, which is instant across 36 countries. So it's not just a money transfer network, but also a neo-banking platform. And its ability for banks to add solutions on top of Buckzy's financial services technology infra. Today, the process of actually realizing your goods is very tedious.
Right.
You will have to spend 4, 5, 6% of commission. You will typically get an Indian acquiring bank, and that process generally is not very efficient. Where we come in, we help you realize the proceeds faster, quicker, and in a more efficient manner from a pricing and service perspective. So that's one example, but it's really into cross-border payments and settlements.
Asit, how does Buckzy replace the traditional bank? In what areas, in what ways does it replace the traditional bank?
So in some ways, Kunj, it doesn't replace a traditional bank. It's not a consumer direct service. So that comparison in many ways is probably not the right comparison. It's a white labeled network for financial services institutions for them to offer real-time payment services. So there is a great opportunity as a result to partner with fintechs. And we feel the export market from India is very large. There are a lot of big opportunity for us to partner with banks on that side.
Asit, I want to leave with only one last question, and this is a crowd pleasing question. This is about cricket. In your journey, in your career, what are some of the things that you've learned from cricket teams, from individuals? What were some of the moments that were like aha moments for you from cricket, which you then incorporated or it helped you in a difficult phase in your career?
I think cricket is a great teacher. And MS Dhoni is one of my personal favorites of a person to learn from. Cricket is the recent Australia game, the 1983 World Cup. All of these analogies are great, right? The World Cups that Dhoni won us. I've met MS Dhoni myself personally. He is one of the most humble people in the world. And MS Dhoni takes people along. He never takes stress. And that's a big learning. Do not, as a leader, you have to handle the stress. You cannot give stress to your teams. You cannot give stress to your teams. And MS Dhoni lived that every single second of the world. And teamwork, how important is that? Because individuals never win. It's the team that wins. The other thing I would like to end with is I had an executive coach who taught me two things. One is being assertive and not aggressive. Assertive is getting your work done and with a fine eye on execution. The other thing is to create, and this is a cricket analogy as well, is to create win-win situations. If Kunj, I make you win, you will want to make me win. If you're even a half decent person, which I'm sure you are. So if we can make each other's win, I try and make my clients win. I try and make my colleagues win. I try and make my peers win. My teammates, I don't ever say you work for me or I work for you. It's always a team.
Thanks a lot, Asit, for doing this with us. I think there were a lot of insights, a lot of direction for youngsters in what you had to say. And also, there was insight on why business development is important and why some of these areas should not be ignored. So thank you so much, Asit, for doing this with us. I think students will gain a lot from this conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Cheers.
Thanks, Kunj.